She did it again. Claressa Shields, the greatest woman boxer of this generation, undisputed at multiple weight classes, Olympic gold medalist twice over, just stood in front of the entire internet and called Papoose, a man whose divorce from Remy Ma is still not finalized as of this week in July 2026, her hubby. Not her man. Not her boyfriend. Not her partner. Her hubby. And she did it in a caption stapled to a training clip promoting an August 15th fight that nobody outside her circle seems to be talking about the way a Claressa Shields fight should be talked about. And the truly wild part, the part that makes this whole thing feel like watching somebody set fire to their own house while live streaming it, is that she is not saying it by accident. She is saying it on purpose. She is saying it while her trainer, a former middleweight world champion, is standing in the gym holding a stopwatch instead of watching her form. She is saying it while Papoose is standing in the background of that same gym with his arms crossed like a kid on timeout at the mall, contributing nothing, sweating nothing, coaching nothing, doing absolutely nothing that resembles the word support. She is saying it while Remy Ma is on stage with Fat Joe and Rick Ross, while Amanda Serrano is announcing new fights, while Alicia Bumgardner is booking network television, while every single woman Claressa has ever tried to drag on the internet is quietly rising and Claressa is quietly begging strangers on Facebook to buy tickets. And by the time we get to the part of this video where I break down what her trainer having to hold that stopwatch actually says about the professional operation she is running, and what the divorce paperwork timeline actually looks like versus what she keeps implying, you are going to understand that this is not a woman winning. This is a woman unraveling on camera in real time and calling it a dream team. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Now let me set the table properly, because if you have not been keeping up, this story has more layers than people are giving it credit for. Claressa Shields, for anybody living under a rock, is arguably the most decorated American boxer alive right now. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, undisputed champion at 154, 160, and 168, a woman who has genuinely earned every accolade a boxer can earn inside the ring. That is the resume. That is the part nobody with sense argues about. But outside the ring, over the last year and change, she has been on what can only be described as a public relations demolition tour. It started when she began publicly linking herself to Papoose, the Brooklyn rapper best known to most casual hip-hop fans as Remy Ma's husband from the love and hip-hop era, a marriage that the culture watched, invested in, celebrated when Remy came home from prison, and generally rooted for because it looked like black love done right. Then, quietly, that marriage started falling apart. In May of 2025, Papoose posted screenshots claiming he had filed for divorce, alleging Remy had cheated on him multiple times, saying he waited to file to protect the peace of their daughter Reminisce. Remy Ma got on Instagram Live and told her side. Then more recently, reports surfaced that Remy has offered to pay Papoose's divorce lawyer because he is allegedly slow-walking the actual proceedings. Meaning, as of the middle of July 2026, this divorce is still not finalized. He filed. Filing is not being divorced. And that distinction is the entire pin holding this story together. Meanwhile, Claressa has been posting Papoose like they eloped in the Bahamas. Birthday tributes for his 48th birthday, quotes about him being her lover and protector and advisor, interviews on the Pivot podcast talking about wanting to have a baby with him in 2026, sitting down on breakfast radio explaining that Papoose pays for cars and houses and flights and that she is quote the algorithm end quote, and now this. A training camp post promoting her August 15th fight where she literally captions him as her hubby, with a boxing trophy emoji, with the words teamwork make the dream work, with a link begging her followers to buy tickets. The stakes here are enormous. Musically, the stakes touch Papoose's career because he is a rapper who has not had a mainstream moment in years and is now hitching his entire public identity to a woman engaged in a running feud with his still legal wife. Culturally, the stakes touch hip-hop because Remy Ma is a beloved figure who spent time behind bars, came home, rebuilt her career, and the culture watched her marriage the entire time. Financially, the stakes touch Claressa because her fights are not selling like an undisputed champion's fights should be selling, and every ounce of energy she pours into this drama is energy pulled away from actual sport promotion. Reputationally, the stakes touch her legacy because the greatest of all-time argument is not just about wins in the ring, it is about how the culture remembers you when you walk away. And right now, the culture is not remembering her the way her resume says they should. So the question this entire video is going to answer is simple. Is Claressa Shields trolling? Is she desperate? Is she chasing a Facebook check? Or is something much bigger cracking underneath the surface? Because I promise you, when we get to the industry breakdown, you are going to see this is not about a caption. Let me start with the surface, because the surface alone is loud enough to end this conversation before it even gets deep. Exhibit 1 is the training clip itself. Claressa posts a video of herself in the gym, working the bag, moving through what looks like a timed drill. In the caption, she writes about being at the gym supported by her hubby Papoose, drops a heart face, drops a boxing trophy, says teamwork makes the dream work, tags August 15th, says we win again. And underneath the caption there is a link asking her audience to buy tickets. Now I want you to sit with that for a second. This is an undisputed champion, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, and she is having to link tickets to her own fight in the caption of a personal romance post. That is not what a superstar's promo cycle looks like. Superstars do not have to beg. Superstars have arenas fighting each other for the honor of hosting. And here she is folding the ticket link into a caption about somebody else's husband. That is Exhibit 1, and by itself it should have been enough for a publicist to intervene. Exhibit 2 is the footage inside the clip. Watch her trainer, John David Jackson. This is not a random face in a gym. This is a former middleweight world champion who now coaches at an elite level. He is one of the actual respected boxing minds in the sport. And in this clip, he is not watching her. He is holding a phone. Because he is running the stopwatch. He said in the clip, 30 seconds and then break. Meaning he is the timekeeper. Meaning his eyes, the eyes that are supposed to be locked on her footwork, her guard, her turnover on her punches, her balance, her chin position, her breathing, are locked on a screen counting down seconds. I have been in real boxing gyms. When you watch a real dream team, one person holds the bag with two hands, one person watches with two eyes, and a third person, the least essential person in the room, handles the little tasks like clock watching and water and towels. What I am watching here is the head coach doing the assistant's job. And that leads to the most important question in this whole clip, which is Exhibit 3. Exhibit 3 is what Papoose is doing. Look at him. Really look. Arms crossed. Standing off to the side. Not sweating. Not holding a mitt. Not counting reps. Not holding a stopwatch. Not being useful. He is standing there like an emotional support pet with a do-rag on, looking bored, occasionally glancing at her. And here is the question that has no good answer. Why is the elite championship-level trainer doing the clockwork while the useless rapper in the background does absolutely nothing? Why is the least skilled person in that gym given the least responsibility? In every actual professional operation I have ever seen, in boxing, in film, in music, in anything, you give the errand jobs to the errand people. You do not have The Rock go get Kevin Hart's coffee. You send a production assistant. So why is Coach Jackson holding the timer while Hubby Do-Rag stands there like a genie waiting to grant a wish nobody made? That is not a dream team. That is a photo op with real professionals in the background. Exhibit 4 is the pattern. Because this is not the first time we have seen Papoose in her camp doing nothing. There is another clip, the pool clip, where Claressa is in the water swimming laps for cardio, and Papoose is sitting poolside with socks on. Socks. He is not going in. He is not spotting her. He is not timing her. He is not motivating her. He is sitting there fully dressed watching her swim like he is guarding a diving board. And in a third clip he is in the same outfit as the first clip, a blue do-rag and a white tee, which raises the very reasonable question of whether these clips were shot on the same day and staged to look like ongoing daily support. 4 separate visual pieces of evidence, all pointing to the same conclusion. This is a photo shoot dressed up as a training camp. And when the visual evidence is this bad, before we have even opened the divorce paperwork or the industry data, the story is already telling on itself. And oh, do I have more? Because if you thought the training footage was rough, wait until we get into what the actual hip-hop community, the people who watched Papoose and Remy for years, has been saying about this, and wait until I show you the receipts of Papoose himself smiling in old photos in a way he has never once smiled in a single picture with Claressa. And to everybody in the comments who keep saying, oh, she is trolling, oh, she is winning the algorithm, oh, you all are mad because she gets a Facebook check. I need you to sit tight, because in a few minutes I'm going to show you exactly how much that Facebook check is worth versus the amount of career equity she is spending to earn it, and the math is not going to make you feel good about defending her. Stay locked in. Now let me go into the cultural evidence, because this is where the story gets uncomfortable for anybody trying to argue Claressa is playing chess. Piece number 1 is Papoose's own visual history. There is a picture of him with a tattoo on his forearm, a portrait of Remy Ma next to a bottle of Remy Martin. That tattoo did not evaporate because he filed paperwork. That tattoo is still on his arm. The man who Claressa is calling her hubby is walking around every single day with his still legal wife's face inked into his skin. And if you think that is a small thing, ask any woman what she would do if she found out her boyfriend had another woman's portrait tattooed on his body. Piece number 2 is the archival footage from the Love and Hip Hop era. Anyone who watched that show remembers Papoose smiling. Papoose laughing. Papoose in whole photo shoots with Remy where he could not keep the grin off his face. He was jovial. He was warm. He was clearly, visibly, on camera in love. Compare that to every single picture we have of him with Claressa. Stoic. Serious. Arms crossed. Eyes distant. Somebody on the internet even made a side-by-side comparison of how he looks at Remy versus how he looks at Claressa, and I'm not the one who made it, but whoever did was doing the Lord's work, because the contrast is undeniable. He does not look at her the way he looked at Remy. Full stop. Piece number 3 is the wider hip-hop community's silence, because silence is loud when it comes from the culture. Papoose has been in hip-hop for over 20 years. He came up around Cool G rap, he was on tour with Busta Rhymes, he had the MTV Movie Awards moment in 2005 that he keeps reposting like it happened last week. And yet, in this entire new relationship arc, where are his people? Where is the cosign? Where is the rapper on a podcast saying, yeah, Pap is happy, y'all should leave him alone? It does not exist. The culture is not endorsing this. The silence is the endorsement of what everybody actually thinks. Meanwhile, look where Remy is. Remy Ma just performed with Rick Ross. Remy Ma has been on the parade float with Fat Joe at the Knicks celebration. Remy is putting out projects. Remy is doing Lifetime movies. Remy has a life. Papoose does not have a concert. Papoose is not on a tour. Papoose does not have an album anybody is anticipating. Every time we see him, he is in Claressa's background looking like a hired extra. When was the last major stage Papoose actually rocked? Not a memory clip from 2005. A current one. Nobody can name it. That silence is piece number 3. Piece number 4 is Claressa's own contradictions, and this is where the cultural community really started turning. On one podcast, one interview, 1 week, she says Papoose does not always have to be around her, she is grumpy in camp, he has his own job, he has his own life, the fans talk about Papoose more than they talk about her. That is what she said. Verbatim. And then days later, in the very next post cycle, she is captioning training clips as my hubby. Teamwork makes the dream work, we win again, look at us. So which is it? Is he independent with his own life, or is he your dream team hubby in your training camp every day? Because it cannot be both. And the fanbase noticed. The comment sections noticed. The shade room noticed. Baller Alert noticed. And every hip-hop outlet that covered this pointed out the whiplash. When your public narrative contradicts itself inside of a single week, the culture does not read that as a woman winning. The culture reads that as a woman losing control of her own story. Piece number 5 is her response to critics, and this might be the most damaging piece of cultural evidence in the entire pile. Somebody in her comments told her Papoose was still married. Instead of ignoring it, instead of touching gloves and moving on, she responded, quote, all these comments mad because that man filed for a divorce. Then somebody else told her honestly she was making herself look insecure and asked her to post the wedding pictures or the marriage certificate. She got into it. She traded shots. She misspelled words. When somebody corrected her spelling of Remy, she came back with you spelled file for a divorce wrong. This is an undisputed world champion arguing spelling in the comment section of her own promo post. Now I want to be fair because I know somebody is going to say she is just having fun, she is just clapping back, that is her personality. Fine. But fun is not the same as strategy. Personality is not the same as public relations. And an undisputed champion whose PR team is watching her spelling battle random commenters 12 days out from a pay-per-view is a champion whose PR team is either not empowered to say no or is already on the way out the door. Either way, that is a cultural signal. And it is a bad one. That is the culture speaking. Now let me change gears completely. Because here is where we have to stop talking about the caption and start talking about the machine, because none of this makes sense until you understand the business context. The first systemic layer is the state of women's boxing economics in 2026. Women's boxing is finally getting real money, but that money is fragile. It is concentrated in a very small number of names: Katie Taylor before her retirement, Amanda Serrano, Claressa Shields, and now the newer generation coming up behind them. When you are one of maybe 3 names holding up the entire economic ceiling of an emerging division, every distraction you create damages not just you, but the entire market. Promoters do not want a headline fighter whose primary trending topic is her boyfriend's marriage. Sponsors, real sponsors, the ones you saw during Serrano's runs, the Gatorades and Nikes and DAZN partners, do not want to attach their brand to a woman whose weekly news cycle is a divorce triangle. And Claressa needs those sponsors. She has openly said on live streams she needs them. She has been visibly begging on social media for team-ups. That is the first systemic angle. She is torching sponsor conversations while carrying the weight of an entire division's commercial future. The second systemic layer is the divorce paperwork itself, because I want everybody watching to understand what filing actually means in family law. Filing for divorce is not being divorced. Filing is the initiation of a legal proceeding. It is the equivalent of turning in a job application. The application being submitted does not mean the job is yours. Reports have surfaced that Papoose is allegedly slow-walking the divorce proceedings, so much so that Remy Ma has publicly offered to pay for his divorce lawyer just to speed the process up. Read that sentence again slowly. The woman he is divorcing is offering to pay his legal fees so the paperwork will actually move. Nobody does that unless the person on the other side is dragging their feet. Which means the man Claressa is calling her hubby, in July of 2026, is a man who filed paperwork over a year ago and still has not seen it through. And in every state in this country, until that decree is signed, he is legally somebody else's husband. That is not opinion. That is not shade. That is family court. And every time Claressa uses the word hubby, she is not just being cute, she is publicly documenting a claim about a legal relationship that does not exist. That is systemic angle number 2, and it is the one her legal team should be losing sleep over. The third systemic layer is the attention economy and how creators like Claressa are being lured into it by the platforms themselves. Meta, TikTok, X, they all pay creator bonuses now. And those bonuses are structured to reward engagement, not quality. Rage bait, controversy, drama, feud content, all of it moves the algorithm the same way. And the payouts, particularly Facebook payouts, are famously low. Claressa herself posted a Facebook check of hers, and it was in the range of $4,000 to $5,000. That is what she is being paid to torch her public image. Meanwhile, an undisputed champion should be commanding fight purses in the 7 figures per bout and endorsement deals with meaningful annual guarantees. So you have to ask the question, and this is where the analysis gets uncomfortable, why is a woman with her resume chasing 4-figure Facebook payouts? 2 possibilities. Possibility 1, she genuinely does not need the money and she is doing this for sport, which would mean she is trading legacy equity for entertainment value, which is a terrible trade. Possibility 2, she actually needs it, which means the fight business is not paying her the way an undisputed champion should be paid, which means her business team has failed her, which means all of this hubby parading is not a personality quirk, it is a symptom of an economic problem she has not solved and cannot admit publicly. Either interpretation is devastating. That is systemic angle number 3, and it is why this story cannot be reduced to she is trolling. There is a machine underneath the caption, and the machine is broken. And now the truth bomb, because when you stack the surface, the culture, and the industry breakdown on top of each other, one conclusion becomes impossible to avoid. Claressa Shields, the greatest female boxer of her generation, is being used. Allegedly. Reportedly. Based on everything the public record shows and everything credible outlets have reported and everything her own behavior on camera demonstrates. She is being used by a rapper whose relevance died a decade ago and who has found in her the last available parachute for his public visibility. Papoose is not in the gym because he is supporting her. Papoose is in the gym because being in the gym gets his face into her algorithm. Papoose is not calling her the love of his life on camera because he is transformed by love. Papoose is doing it because her platform, her ticket link, her endorsement pipeline, her podcast appearances, and her check-clearing power are the last engine keeping his name in a headline. And Claressa cannot see it, or she can see it and cannot stop, because emotionally she has already invested too much to walk it back. The tattoos, the interviews, the wanting a baby in 2026 conversations, the hubby captions. She has burned every bridge behind her, so the only direction left is deeper into a situation the entire culture is telling her is a trap. And when the divorce paperwork finally finalizes, if it finalizes, the industry watchers I have talked to, the people who cover hip-hop relationships for a living, are already predicting that Papoose does not marry Claressa. They are predicting that once his exit from the previous marriage is legally clean, the incentive structure that keeps him tethered to her platform will start to loosen. Because he needed her leverage during the messy middle. He did not need her before, and he will not need her after. Meanwhile, Remy Ma is on stage with Rick Ross, on parade floats with Fat Joe, in Lifetime movies, with her baby, with her legacy intact, with the culture in her corner. Claressa is in a gym holding a stopwatch that her own coach should be holding, in relationship the entire hip-hop world sees as a mistake, promoting a fight nobody is buying tickets to fast enough, arguing with commenters about the spelling of Remy. That is the truth bomb. She is not winning. She is being used to prolong somebody else's relevance while damaging her own. And the caption that says hubby is not a flex, it is a receipt of the exact moment we watched it happen in real time. And here is what the last honest voice in this conversation has to remind you of. The person in this story who is still winning, who has always been winning, is the disciplined one. It is not the one screaming on the timeline. It is not the one arguing in comment sections. It is not the one calling somebody else's husband her hubby. It is the fighters and artists who stay locked in on their craft and let the results speak. Amanda Serrano is announcing new fights. Alicia Baumgardner is booking network television. Layla Ali is running her business and writing a book. Remy Ma is putting out music, doing movies, being on major stages, showing up with her daughter, moving with grace even when her name gets dragged into a mess she did not create. Every woman Claressa has ever tried to publicly diminish is quietly rising, and Claressa is publicly begging strangers on Facebook to buy tickets to a fight. That contrast is the entire story. One woman is doing the work. The other one is doing the caption. And in the long run, the work always beats the caption. Always. That is not opinion. That is a pattern the culture has watched play out 100 times with 100 different names. The Island Boys were once trending every day. Now they are boxing on undercards for relevance. Lil Pump was a movement. Now he is a memory. Being loud is not the same as being lasting. And when Claressa looks up in 2 years and the culture has moved on, when the tickets she is begging for now are being bought by other headliners, when Papoose is quietly on to the next platform, the only thing left will be what she built in the ring. And what she built in the ring is enough. That is the part nobody is telling her. She does not need any of this. Her boxing resume alone is generational. The only person threatening her legacy right now is her. That is the resolution the culture keeps trying to hand her, and every day she throws it back in the trash. So here is where this is going. In the next few weeks, before this August 15th fight actually happens, there are 2 developments I want you to keep your eyes on, because both of them are going to break, and when they break, I'm going to be the first channel to unpack them for you. Development number 1 is the ticket sales data, because if this fight underperforms in the arena the way it is currently underperforming online, that will be the first hard piece of evidence that the caption strategy is actively hurting her purse. That is a number that will be reported, and that number is going to make headlines. Development number 2 is the divorce paperwork itself, because based on the reporting so far, Remy has essentially publicly dared Papoose to finalize this thing, and the industry is watching to see whether that decree gets signed before or after this fight. Both of those milestones are landmines, and I promise you, when they detonate, we will be right here breaking them down piece by piece. So if you are not subscribed right now, you are going to miss the sequel to this video, and the sequel is going to be even bigger than this one. Hit that bell. Turn on notifications. Stand with me. Because I have told you this story from the beginning, I have shown you the character piece by piece, and I have been right about every prediction so far. And the next video I am dropping is going to genuinely blow your socks off. I am working on it right now. It will be out inside the next 24 to 48 hours. It is a receipts-based deep dive into what allegedly went down between Papoose and a name from Claressa's own inner circle that has not made it to the mainstream yet, and once you see it, the Hubby caption is going to look like the least embarrassing thing she has posted this year. Do not miss it. We unpacked